Your most cherished memories are probably lies. Your brain is not a high-fidelity camera. It's a storyteller with a very specific agenda. By the end of this, you'll understand that agenda and why your mind systematically rewrites your own history. And recognizing this process is the only thing that separates a useful past from a psychological cage you build for yourself. Your mind has a built-in defense mechanism, a kind of psychological immune system called the fading affect bias. It's a simple rule. Over time, the emotions tied to negative memories fade much faster than the emotions tied to positive ones. The memory itself might remain, but the sting is drawn out of it. It's why a humiliating mistake from 5 years ago can feel like a funny anecdote today. The factual record is there, but the emotional charge has been neutralized. Think about your first apartment, the one with the leaky faucet, the noisy neighbors, and the heating that only worked in July. At the time, the frustrations were real. You felt them every day. Now, years later, what do you remember? You remember the first party you hosted. You remember the view from the window on a particular morning. You remember the feeling of having your own keys for the first time. The constant, low-grade misery of the leaky faucet has faded into a footnote, while the peak positive moments have been preserved in high definition. Your brain has curated your past, sanding down the sharp edges of old pains until the story is smoother, more pleasant. This process works automatically in the background, like a software update for your soul. It's designed to keep you functional, to prevent you from being weighed down by the accumulated grievances of your entire life. It's a feature, a survival tool. But this gentle fading is just the beginning. It's a passive process. The brain's active role in rewriting history is far more aggressive, and it produces much stranger results. Your memory of an event is almost never a recording of the event itself. Instead, it's a highly compressed summary of two specific points in time: the most intense moment and the very end. This is the peak end rule. It's a cognitive shortcut that governs how you feel about everything from a 2-week vacation to a 2-minute conversation. The actual duration of the event barely matters. The average level of pleasure or pain is completely ignored. All that sticks is the peak and the end. Psychologists demonstrated this with a famously uncomfortable experiment. People underwent a painful medical procedure. One group had a standard version that was consistently painful for a shorter period. A second group had the exact same procedure, plus a few extra minutes at the end where the pain was still present, but slightly less intense. Logically, the second experience was worse. It contained all the same pain as the first, plus an additional period of discomfort. But people who experienced the longer procedure, the one with the less painful ending, rated the entire ordeal as significantly more pleasant. They were more willing to repeat it. Their memory had discarded the duration of the pain. It latched onto the peak, and then it overwrote that memory with the feeling of the final moments. The end of the story changed the story itself. This happens to you all the time. A difficult project at work that was a nightmare for 6 months culminates in a single, successful presentation. The memory becomes that challenging project that we nailed in the end. The 6 months of stress are compressed into a footnote. A family vacation filled with flight delays, bad weather, and arguments is saved by one perfect final day. That's what gets archived. Your brain isn't keeping a detailed log. It's creating a movie poster. It's grabbing the most dramatic still frame and the final shot, and it's throwing the rest of the footage away. This explains how we distort our personal experiences, how we edit our own lives into a highlight reel. But it has a flaw. It fails to explain a much larger phenomenon: our nostalgia for entire decades, the feeling that a whole era was somehow better, simpler, more authentic. This is a different mechanism entirely. Your personal memories don't exist in a vacuum. They are woven into a much larger story, a collective memory shaped by culture. You might feel a strange sense of nostalgia for the 1980s, even if you were barely alive. Why? Because the 80s have been packaged for you. They exist as a curated playlist of synth pop, a collection of iconic film scenes, a distinct visual aesthetic of neon and big hair. Your brain doesn't have to remember the Cold War anxiety, the economic recessions, or the social crises. It just has to play the hit song. The culture has already done the work of creating a rosy version of the past for you. It hands you an edited summary. This effect is amplified by something called the reminiscence bump. It's the well-documented tendency for people over 40 to have the strongest memories from the period between their late teens and early 30s. This is the period when we form our identities, experience our firsts, and feel life most intensely. As we age, our brains disproportionately return to this period. When a culture is shaped by people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, the people who write the articles, direct the movies, and run the companies, their own reminiscence bump becomes the culture's default nostalgia. Their golden age gets broadcast to everyone else. Each generation packages its youth and sells it as a golden era. Some might argue that the past was objectively better in some ways. They point to economic data like more affordable housing, or social factors like a stronger sense of local community. These points can be valid. A house in 1970 was, in fact, cheaper. The problem is that our brains access this data through an emotional filter. The filter highlights the one comforting number about the house price. It conveniently crops out the crushing inflation of that decade, the limited professional opportunities for entire segments of the population, the social rigidity, and the fact that a medical emergency could bankrupt a family just as easily then as it can now. We cherry-pick the comforting data points from the past and compare them to the full, messy, high-definition reality of the present. It's an unfair comparison, a rigged game. This social programming is immensely powerful. It shapes our view of history. But the true engine of nostalgia, the one that gives it such a desperate emotional pull, is driven by a much deeper and more personal force. It's a defense against the one thing you spend your entire life trying to forget. The core function of romanticizing the past is to manage terror, specifically the terror of an uncertain future and the finality of death. The past is the only part of your life that is complete. It is a finished story. The narrative is locked. There are no threatening surprises waiting for you in 1995. The present, by contrast, is a constant stream of demands, anxieties, and unpredictable events. And the future is a total unknown. It is a void. And at the end of that void is the one thing all biological life is programmed to fear: its own end. Nostalgia is a powerful anxiety management system. When we are confronted with the chaos of the present or the terror of the future, a health scare, a career change, a global crisis, our minds instinctively retreat to the psychological safety of a known landscape. We return to the memories of our youth, a time when the world felt larger, our future felt longer, and our sense of self was simpler and more stable. It's a psychological anchor in a turbulent sea. It's a way of whispering to ourselves, I have a story, I have a history, I am a solid thing that has existed over time. This provides a potent antidote to the feeling of being adrift in the chaos of the now. It's like being on a plane during severe turbulence. Your instinct is to grip the armrests. The past is your mind's armrest. It's solid, it's bolted down, and holding on to it makes the shaking feel more survivable. This is an incredibly important psychological function. It regulates our emotions and preserves our sense of identity. So our minds construct these beautiful edited museums of our personal history. They are safe havens designed to protect us from the harsh realities of the present and the deep fear of the unknown. They are monuments to a version of ourselves that survived. But what is the price of admission to this museum? And what happens when you decide to live there? A little nostalgia is a psychological painkiller. It soothes anxiety and fosters social connection. A chronic overdose becomes a poison. It creates an idealized, flawless benchmark that the present can never, ever live up to. When the past is romanticized, it stops being a memory and becomes a weapon that you use against your own happiness. Every new experience gets measured against a ghost. This new friendship isn't as intense as my college friendships. This job isn't as exciting as my first one, This city doesn't feel like the town I grew up in. The past, which has been airbrushed and curated by your own mind, becomes the gold standard. The messy, complicated, and authentic reality of your current life will always come up short in comparison. This is the fast track to disappointment, a recipe for quiet despair. This mindset actively prevents you from engaging with the world as it is. It fosters a passive stance toward life. Instead of building new things, you're constantly trying to recreate old feelings. You're trying to step in the same river twice, forgetting that both you and the river have changed. The real danger of romanticizing the past is that it forecloses on the future. It convinces you that the best days are gone, and if you believe that, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You stop taking risks. You stop meeting new people. You stop learning. You retreat into the familiar comfort of what was, because you've lost faith in what could be. Your past is supposed to be a rearview mirror. You glance at it to get context and see how far you've come. But you are meant to spend 90% of your time looking through the windshield. Maladaptive nostalgia is driving your life while staring into the rearview mirror. A crash is not a risk. It is a statistical certainty. Your brain isn't lying to you to be malicious. It is editing your memories to keep you sane. It is a powerful survival mechanism honed over millennia to smooth out the rough edges of a difficult existence. The fading affect bias, the peak end rule, the pull of collective memory, these are all tools in a psychological first aid kit. They help you heal from pain, maintain a stable identity, and manage a deep existential dread. The danger appears when we mistake the first aid kit for a permanent home. We start living inside the curated museum of our past instead of venturing out to build the future. Your memories are real. The feelings they evoke are valid, but they are raw material. They are the data set of you. The goal is to integrate your past, to learn from it, to draw strength from it. It's not a destination you can ever return to. It's the launch pad. The only question that matters is what you're going to build with all that data. Right here.